Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to the channel. My name, as you know, is Sal. Today we're going to be breaking down this Tuesday 6-game slate in the NBA. Last night was weird, right? We had a lot of high scores. I woke up this morning scoring 315 points in my main lineup, and I lost 50% of the deposits I put in. Or not the deposits, but my entries. So, not great overall. Luka going to overtime and just splashing. Not Tyus Jones, but Elfrid Payton going to overtime as well and just getting another triple-double. Really hurts. So, waking up to that, seeing my total, I was like, oh, okay, I probably profited last night. Not at all. Not in the slightest. So, we're back at it again today. We're going to start like we always do with the injury news. If this is your first time to the channel, new people every single day, growing channel, I love it, I love it, I love it. Welcome to the channel. If you can hit me with a thumbs up if you're returning or new here, I appreciate it. What I do is I give you daily fantasy sports coverage. We're going to be starting MLB next week. I'm diving deeper into it this week, reading some books. There's some great learning series over on Twitch by Joe Holka, Manny Laura, even Al Zeinenfeld, I believe, is going to be doing a show today with Daily Rotos, Drew Dinkmeyer. So check out all of that. But right now, we're talking NBA, so I want to give you as much value as possible in this video, set you up early in the day to succeed, right? And then it's up to you throughout the day to sort of find any other articles you'd like or just stick to some of your projections, or if you want to use mine, whatever it might be. So before we start, just a little bit of housekeeping. Get into the Discord. How many people? I always love looking at this. We have 341. So yesterday we had like 320. Another 20 people. Get in the Discord. People are talking all day in there. The NCAA chat is now heating up as the tournament has started. Or starts, and NBA, everything in there. So it's just a group texting website as well as an app you can get on your phone. You can mute it so you can only look at it when you really want to or get notifications if anybody just tags you instead of every single thing. That's what I do. You can go over to Patreon if you want my NBA projections. You can get those over here, $7.99 for the month for the site. Comes out to like 30 cents a day. If you like looking at projections, I think it's a pretty big piece of the puzzle personally. So, with that, without further ado, if you can hit me with that thumbs up. If at any point during this video you think, oh wow, that was helpful, or I like what he said there, hit me with a subscribe. Really appreciate it. Helps me out a ton. Or a follow on Twitter. Whatever you want to do. I think Twitter's up there somewhere. So let's get into this. It's Tuesday. I've had 2 cups of coffee. We got this big old Yeti full of cold water. It's 7 a.m. And we're going to rock this one out. So let's do it. Starting with injury news like we always do. We start with Brooklyn, alphabetical order here. Allen Crabbe has been ruled out once again. His knee is still an issue. They said it drained. It would take 2 to 3 games. I think this is now 3 games. In terms of impacted players, I don't really have it on there, but it's just going to be a ton of these Brooklyn players. Karis LeVert, we've seen his minutes elevate to 27 to 32 the last game, even with DeMarcus Carroll back. Carroll's minutes will go up. Joe Harris has been the guy taking a minutes hit in that regard. So all those guys' minutes will be going up with Allen Crabbe out of the lineup, mainly Harrell, or DeMarcus Carroll and LeVert, I would say. Cody Zeller is doubtful today for Charlotte, and Tony Parker is out resting. Zeller being doubtful, it's just going to continue what we've already seen. Marvin Williams should see over 30 minutes instead of his high 20s, so around 32 minutes I have him projected for today. And with that, some center minutes. Frank Kaminsky saw over 30 minutes in the last game. I don't really expect that again, but I do have him projected for 26 today. And Bismack has seen 17 minutes in the last 2 games at center. I project that once again, 17 minutes. What more can I go off of? So I think Marvin Williams, it's still 4,500, I believe, 4,600 cheap. Is going to see over 30 minutes against a Philly team without Joel Embiid. Seems nice off the bat. Then you have DeMarcus Cousins. So Golden State just put this in here. Just switching this up quickly. So you're going to have DeMarcus Cousins. Doubtful today. He sat out yesterday. He said he's uncertain to play today, or actually not uncertain, unlikely. So I put that more towards doubtful than questionable. Look, when DeMarcus Cousins is out, Steph Curry sees the biggest usage bump. Steph Curry also has a nice matchup today, which we'll get into. You're also going to get Durant, Clay, all the other big 4, and also Bogut, who came back and he played, I believe, 19 minutes, scored about a fantasy point per minute. So something to keep an eye on. I don't expect him to just suddenly get 25 minutes a game, Andrew Bogut. You still have Kevon Looney out there, but definitely interesting that he came in and started right away. Josh Hart is questionable. So for the Lakers, all these guys are questionable today. We have pretty much straightforward news. It's nice. But for the Lakers, a team that you really have to pick and choose who you're going to play, because anybody on any given night, Alex Caruso the last couple of nights has done well. Moritz Wagner was doing, or Wagner, Mo Wagner, said that wrong a couple times in the past. Oh well. He did well in a couple of games, right? You still have LeBron on a minutes limit. So Lance, Josh Hart, and Tyson Chandler all questionable. Chandler probably doesn't matter that much. If anything, he'll see 10 minutes tops in a game. Lance Stevenson hasn't played now in a few weeks. I would imagine if he plays, he'll see in the low to mid-20s. And Josh Hart, if he plays, I have him projected, I believe, right now for 26 minutes in this contest. It'll affect, I believe, Caldwell Pope a little bit, and depending on where he starts, maybe Reggie Bullock. So that's the Lakers. Nothing really major there. Giannis is questionable. This is probably the biggest question mark that we have today and the biggest piece of news that we're waiting on. if Giannis is out against the Lakers, it opens up a ton. This Lakers team defensively is terrible. It's a huge pace-up spot. It's a huge pace overall between the Bucks and the Lakers today, but a little bit of a pace-up for Milwaukee. Giannis goes out. It's going to be a big bump for Chris Middleton. It's going to be a big bump for Mirotic, who I imagine would get closer to 30 minutes now. Eric Bledsoe. You could also give Brook Lopez a nice matchup, a bump. So that's the biggest news. Malcolm Brogdon has been out. We already know this, but for some of you that don't, he's out 6 to 8 weeks with a patella tendon. And since those 2 games, Eric Bledsoe has seen his minutes stabilize in the low 30s instead of right around 30. 34, 33 minutes. I have him projected at 33 minutes today. It's going to help Chris Middleton and Tim Frazier, ... I have Tim Frazier he was just signed by the Bucks, and I imagine he's going to get some run. If not today, pretty soon. Pretty good basketball player from Penn State's own Tim Frazier here. Once had a triple-double in the NBA, multiple. But Tim Frazier, yeah, if he gets a start here, I don't know how this lineup is going to look. I would imagine he's going to start to play more over Tony Snell. So that's interesting to watch. I know George Hill is still out there, but I think Tim Frazier, they signed him for a reason. Jeff Teague is out today, so Minnesota news now coming in. Jeff Teague out, and Derrick Rose doubtful, and Luol Deng out. So Teague and Rose being out, it's going to elevate guys like Josh Okogie. Maybe he saw his most minutes, I think, on the year, like around mid-30s last game. Tyus Jones should see right around 30 minutes. I would expect him to see more. Jared Bayless, though, should be splitting those minutes right around 48 even. I right now have projected Tyus Jones for 31 and Bayless, I believe, for 17. Andrew Wiggins and Cat get huge bumps as well, just in terms of shots. And for Cat, if you've been watching me, his assist percentage goes up. He's pretty much a 4 or 5 point increase to his projection once Jeff Teague goes out, because you get a bump to his assist percentage. Joel Embiid, they said that he would already be out for this game after the last nice, pretty fun game against Milwaukee. Looking forward to that, hopefully in the playoffs. So him being out, it's going to help Tobias Harris and Ben Simmons, the 2 guys we saw that got the biggest bump when Joel Embiid was out for a few games earlier in February. And then it's going to help Boban. So we really don't know what happens with Boban here. Will he start and get 24 minutes? Will he start and get 18 minutes? Will he not start at all? We have to wait for that lineup. We have to wait for that news. If he does start, he averages around 1.3 points per minute, 1.25 since the start of February when Joel Embiid is off the court. All of these other guys, I had a tweet earlier today. You should follow me on Twitter. I put out all tweets like this. The usage is pretty much the same for the likes of Tobias Harris, Ben Simmons, and Jimmy Butler, all right around 24% for Butler and Harris, or 24% for Simmons and Butler, and then like 22% for Harris. But Boban also has 22%, so something to keep an eye on. Robin Covington also out today for Minnesota. His team just didn't pull. So Robin Covington also out today for Minnesota, so nothing really there. So biggest pieces of news today to really watch is Giannis. That's the biggest thing. Maybe we get starting, or we are going to get some starting news out of Philly. So watch that. See if Boban's in the lineup. It makes him a lot better, mainly just on Draftkings, I think at 4,100. He's unplayable to me on Fanduel at 6,800. There's just no value there in my opinion, especially if we're not going to get stable minutes. So biggest news here, I would expect DeMarcus Cousins to be out today. I expect Cody Zeller to be out today. It's just watch Giannis news. If Giannis is out, it changes the entire slate against the Lakers team that is going to have a lot of possessions, probably a high total, and not play defense today. So it bumps all these other Bucks. So that's the injury dashboard. Before we get over to the target offense sheet, I want to talk about Draft Dashboard quickly. Draft Dashboard, it's a site where it's pretty much player projections. It's reduced research time in terms of data. You could pull things from here if you create your own spreadsheets. They have ownership projections. You can watch list players by clicking the little target icon. You could exclude them by clicking the X. Once you watch list them, they go into this pool. These are just random players from I don't know when. They go into here, and it's nicer to look, and I like this. I use this on this site and also some other sites, and then maybe I generate some lineups and get ideas early in the day before I start to try and take my own biases out of it. So you can do this, then you can go into their lineup optimizer. You can optimize based on your player pool. You can mass enter lineups right here with their generator if you're somebody who likes to max out the quarter jukeboxes, or even if you're playing at higher stakes and max out 150 into a $1 tournament or a $10 tournament. They have a cheat sheet that comes out later on in the day. It comes out in the morning, but I'm shooting this really early. It just pretty much shows you nice values at each slot quickly. You could also filter their position optimizer by value. It's nice. It's a pretty nice tool. I use it personally. I've been using it. And the biggest thing that I like about it is you can try it out 30 days for $1. There's the plug, but that's actually the real thing. There's value there, right? 3 pennies a day to try it out if you're not already down below. 30 days for $1. And if you don't like it, you could try out another optimizer. If you do like it, it was $1 and you could read it up. So check that out for sure. That's Draft Dashboard. Let's move over to the target offense sheet. I also want to ask a question every single day. We asked one yesterday what you guys think that I should add to these videos or what you would like to see more about. We had some pretty nice things. People just saying, like, who do you think will be a slate breaker or a dud? I think that's pretty cool. Early in the day, obviously a lot of things change, but I could definitely incorporate stuff like that. I want to know now, what do you think is your biggest weakness or handicap in daily fantasy sports? It could be specific to NBA, it could be anything. I would say mine personally, I think everybody overthinks, but I think that mine personally would be trying to play every slate, especially in the NBA. Look, I do projections, I do content, so I like doing this. It's fun, right? But in terms of playing every slate, some of them just stink. It could be just because it's a 3-game slate, and those suck just in general. It could be a 5 or 6-game slate, even an 8-game slate. That just stinks in my opinion, right? And me sitting out might be more optimal than me playing and then going into it thinking that it's negative EV to me. So I would say just trying to play every slate is my downside. Last night sucked, right? Had about 300 in play, walked away with about 158, so lost 142, and my lineup scored 316, 315. That's insane. Really never thought I would say those words. If anything, break even there. So trying to play every slate. Last night's slate was great, though, overall, just in hindsight, or in hindsight, yeah. So that's mine. I want to know what your guys is. What do you think is your biggest handicap or weakness in daily fantasy sports? I want to know that, see if I can help out. So drop that in the comments below. Hit me with a like too. So target offense sheet. Let's blow this up a little bit for everybody in here. It's a little bit too much. And I'd say that that's about good. Perfect. So the target offense sheet we see here, we have 12 teams on this slate, 6 games today. 2 teams on a back-to-back, Golden State and Indiana Pacers. I believe those are the only 2 teams on the back-to-back today. Edited the target offense sheet yesterday. Going to be adding more to it. I have it just broken down, color-coordinated, nice and layered. So let me know what you think about that. Got some good feedback early on. If we look at the pace is possessions per game. Highest pace on this slate, and it's not even close, is this Bucks-Lakers game. 108.22 projected possessions per team. You can see there's another highly paced one, Sacramento and Brooklyn, 2 teams that I love targeting in DFS, 106.72. But let's focus on this Milwaukee and Lakers game. The rest of the stuff you see here is Vegas odds in blue. In that pinkish color, those are the opponent ratings, defensive rebounding rate divided by the league average, defensive efficiency, and true shooting percentage. A lot of nice indicators. Want to add some more. And then defense versus position over the last 30 days is how many Draftkings points have been allowed over the last 30 days. This will, for the most part, filter right down into Fanduel points and Yahoo, so you could still use those. So Milwaukee versus the Lakers. So we're looking at this right now at a 236 over under 236, 3.5 points more than any other game on the slate. Projected to have per team 2 possessions more than any other game on the slate, so 4 total. This is looking like the spot, right? And obviously this is early on, and I already know the industry is going to run with this game on a 6-game slate. When one is this attractive, it's pretty easy to just target it. Now, you do have another one right there in that Brooklyn-Sacramento that we talked about, 232 total, pretty close to 236, 106.72 possessions. So if you want to look for another game to stack or just one to target with the same amount of load or whatever I'm trying to say here, with the same amount of just emphasis, then that's still fine. There's a lot of good totals on this slate. Every single game on this slate has a 219 or above total. We like that. Should be another high-scoring slate today. In terms of the best matchups on this slate, and you can see defensive rebounding rate for Milwaukee below average here. So this is just a nicer matchup for maybe guys like Kyle Kuzma, even LeBron in limited minutes. So the best matchup overall in this entire game is going to be Eric Bledsoe against the Lakers. The Lakers are a nosebleed to point guards. They're one of the worst. They're very comparable. And this is it. This is perfect. Look at this. So we have right here 52.79, and we've been targeting Atlanta all year long, right? Against guards, point guards, and shooting guards. And we have Chris Paul and Harden against them today. It's just an incredible spot for them. But they're giving up 52.79 points per game over the last 30 days to that position over 48 minutes, right? Well, you see right here, 52.74. That's pretty damn close. The Lakers are just as bad against the point guard position as Atlanta. And people know that. People know that they're bad against guards, but not that bad. So today, Eric Bledsoe's matchup, still only 6,400. Still going to be seeing 33 to 34 minutes, 32 as a floor, I believe. I have him projected for 33. I love this spot for him. I also love Chris Middleton. If Giannis is out, it bumps Middleton and Bledsoe through the roof, in my opinion. Also gives Nikola Mirotic a bump, as well as Brook Lopez, who does have a decent matchup today against the Lakers, especially if they continue to run small. On the Lakers side of the ball, Rondo's minutes are everywhere. Look, this whole team's minutes are everywhere. Kyle Kuzma might be the most consistent player outside of LeBron. And LeBron, you can't really get a ceiling out of him. Sure, you can, but he has to be super, super efficient, which he is an efficient player. But this minutes limit also, I'm curious if it's a real thing. They said 28 to 32 minutes. He played 35 in the last game. He sat the game before that, so maybe that's just a little factor into it. But interesting, definitely something to note. Another thing to note is that the Bucks are favored by 12. If Giannis is out, I imagine that 12-point favorite bumps down, but probably not more than like 8. Look, this Lakers team is very bad, even with LeBron out there. So that's definitely a concern as a game to target in terms of it not being as competitive as we would like, especially when you look at Sacramento and Brooklyn. Much more competitive game at a 4-point spread. So keep that in mind. I think Bledsoe and Middleton are fine. On the Lakers side of the ball, I'm really not interested in anything. Look, if you need to get a value in there, Caldwell Pope is fine for a value play. Alex Caruso, if he's going to continue to see these 25 minutes, is fine if he's still that cheap. But outside of that, and really those guys I'm not dying to play, I'm just trying to name players for you guys. LeBron is fine if you want to take that risk. In cash, I probably wouldn't go there. I want to quickly talk about that Sacramento and Brooklyn game. We could highlight it here. Another fast pace. Usually on any other slate, this would be the fastest pace, highest total of the day, and it's a little bit more of a competitive game. Both teams below average in defensive rebounding rates. We already know that Brooklyn is very bad on offensive and defensive rebounding. You can see that there, as they are the second worst team on this slate in defensive rebounding outside of Houston. So Brooklyn here against Sacramento. We like to target Brooklyn with the bigs pace up spot. We can target Sacramento with the guards. So D'Angelo Russell automatically comes to mind for a nice spot as his price dips down. And for Brooklyn, or for Sacramento against Brooklyn, I really don't know what to recommend here. Look, Willie Cauley-Stein should see 27, 28 minutes, but Harry Giles is breathing down his neck, playing insane in only 20 minutes time. They can very easily give Harry Giles 2 to 3 more minutes in a game, and now it's pretty much an even split between him and Willie Cauley-Stein, and where do you go there? If Marvin Bagley's minutes limits get lifted, and we get word of that before this game, I'm all in on Marvin Bagley today. Brooklyn allowing the best matchup on the slate is the power forward spot for Sacramento, 51.29 points over the last 30 days. But it's going to be split between Bagley and Bjelica, pretty much down the middle like we've seen the last 2 games. There's only so much either of those guys can do in 19 to 20 to 21 minutes each that there's really not much leverage there for us. But if we get word that Bagley's minutes limit is up, his price, his matchup, he's in a great spot, and his points per minute as of late. Outside of that, I want to look at some other high total games. Atlanta and Houston. It would be a disservice to you guys, not to mention, and girls, not to mention that Atlanta is terrible against the guard position, and Chris Paul is pretty good. His price comes up $400 after a nice time out last time, and he's still too cheap. He's $7,100 in a game that should stay relatively competitive. Houston favored by 7.5, and a 232 total with 104 pace. This is a good game environment, especially for a point guard going up against Atlanta. Look, James Harden is also in a fantastic spot here. Second best matchup on the slate against Atlanta, only behind Philadelphia's J.J. Redick against Charlotte. In terms of over the last 30 days, I'd actually say it doesn't matter his matchup. James Harden is going to put up points. 11.2 is his price point today. I think getting up to Harden, if you can, I haven't done any lineup construction, is smart here. But Paul at 7,100 is just way too cheap. Outside of that, there's 2 or 3 more games on the slate. The Clippers and Indiana down here, slowest pace game on the slate. Indiana coming off a back-to-back. It's important to mention that Myles Turner against the Clippers is in a smash spot. Had one of his best games, if not his best game of the year last night. On a back-to-back, it'll be interesting to monitor that. Thad Young also has a nice matchup here, whether it's against Gallo, whether against Harrell. Nice matchup. Outside of that, Lou Will, you could always put him in a tournament, but I'm not too sure I really want to get any part of this. Indiana, a nice defensive team, playing a little less, not as great on defense as of late, but still pretty nice. Just the total, the pace. The total's fine at 219, but relative to other games in the slate, it's not. Myles Turner would be my only interest here. Maybe a little bit of Darren Collison, maybe a little bit of Thad Young. On the Clippers side, really, I mean, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's minutes are coming up. Pat Beverly's minutes have been insane. I don't really want either of those guys in any format, though. Lou Will in a tournament, that's the only place I'd really consider. So yeah, that's it. I mean, you guys can look into the other games. We talked about Charlotte and Philly in terms of just the injury news. I like Marvin Williams there. I think that Frank Kaminsky is interesting there. And then on the Philly side, check out Boban's minutes, see if he's in the starting lineup. He becomes viable on DK. Tobias Harris and Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons just too cheap at 8,500 with no Joel Embiid. His usage is going to be closer to 26 today. I do like that as well. Triple-double upside for sure for Ben today. Let's move into early interests. And these aren't picks or anything like that. Just early interest. And actually, before we do, I just want to bring something up. So I'll go over to Twitter quick if you don't follow me. This was a tweet that somebody actually tagged me in. It says, in case you missed it, I'm looking to hire a fantasy editor for CBS, and you guys can read the rest. Just looking for somebody full-time remote who knows how to make content. I have a content background. For CBS Sports, so a pretty good company. I don't know if I want this job. I saw it and it was very interesting to me, but I don't know the specific details, pay, role, whatever it is. But I saw send the resume in CSV here, so I did. And if you feel the need, if I've ever helped you, I would greatly, greatly appreciate it. A couple people already did it. Just to go on here and say, like, hey, at SalVetriDFS, that's my Twitter. You can see it up there. Sounds like a good fit for this or anything like that. I just asked if you'd be appropriate and if you feel the need. No reason to go out of your way for it. Just wanted to highlight there. This is the exact type of thing that I'm looking for after college to supplement me, a full-time job remote, doing fantasy stuff while I do my own stuff on the side. So I saw this and I was like, wow, that's actually perfect. So I sent a little cover letter. I sent all my links to this channel. Person might be watching this right now. So hey, how you doing? My name's Sal. I can answer any questions you want. But thank you. I appreciate that if you guys feel the need. Otherwise, no need to go out of the way. Just wanted to mention that because some people in the Discord were nice enough to do it. So, we have a new Patreon, Sean Sanson. Very nice of you, Sean, if you're going to be watching this video. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. You can get the projections, and that's a good plug for the projections. They'll be on Patreon, updated at least 2 to 3 times a day. Also in the Discord as well. You'll now have access to the premium channels. Early interest, and I probably hit on all of these early interests. Oh, actually, we didn't. We really didn't talk much about Minnesota and Golden State as we should have, so I could talk about that when we get to those players. But Tobias Harris, Simmons, and Boban, you already heard me say I like all these guys. I think Tobias at 7,200 is the best value, especially at the 4 if he even plays a good amount of 5 minutes like we saw him do. Granted, those were with when Boban was out as well, but I don't count it out of the picture. Tyus Jones and Karl Anthony Towns, Minnesota against Golden State. Another nice game where we probably don't have Boogie Cousins, so a bump to Steph Curry at the most. I believe he gets the biggest bump. And on the other side, we have $9,700 Karl Anthony Towns with no Jeff Teague. I think he's criminally low. I was blinded in the last game, and I kind of forced Towns in over Vooch, who were both in very similar upside spots, but Towns was $800 more on a smaller slate. Still think it was a good decision, but in terms of what it left me with a dust play like Kevin Huerter in my main line when I could have got $800 up from that. But I have to make lineups. I think Karl Anthony Towns at 9,700 is too cheap just right off the bat. I think that's way too cheap for a guy who's averaging since like the All-Star break, like 34, 14, and 6 or something insane. And Jeff Teague was in for the majority of those games. So Towns is a fine play. Tyus Jones, I'm a little bit paused with, right? $5,200. The price is coming up. He's not seeing 34 minutes like he was earlier this year. This like not just the season, but like this new year when we saw Jeff Teague and Derrick Rose sit out. Only getting around 29 minutes. I'm not sure exactly why that is. Haven't really looked at it in Popcorn Machine. But 5,200 gives me pause in a matchup against Clay and Steph. Not really something I want to run out there if I don't have to. Only point guard eligible. You guys know that I do like to get point guard, shooting guard eligible guys so I can get as many point guards in the lineup. Not the biggest of deals, but 5,200, a little bit of pause there. Still a fine value in terms of he can go for 30 like that, and he's 6Xs if that's the way that you like to calculate your value. So I think they're both fine, but I get a little pause off Jones if I don't have to go there. We already said Chris Paul, James Harden, smash spots. Look, they're playing Atlanta. Chris Paul is still underpriced at 7,100. This guy in this specific matchup, and the minutes he's getting around 32 to 34, this guy should be, I don't know, 7,500, 7,700. So 7,100, you're getting just an incredible discount. And that's the thing. If he's only point guard eligible, and I do want to build around him, or at least it seems like that, and then you get Tyus Jones, well, now you're stuck with no other point guard eligible only players, such as a Trae Young that we'll get to. So that's what's a little bit tough. Unless you want to put them in your utility, which is fine, but doesn't seem as optimal. For Milwaukee, even with Giannis questionable, I love Bledsoe today. His matchup against the Lakers is just as good as Chris Paul's against Atlanta. Not a lot of people will notice that, but they will notice that Bledsoe doesn't have Malcolm Brogdon there. We don't really know what Tim Frazier's going to do yet. It's not going to be that effective, at least this early. So Bledsoe, I have him in for 33 minutes, I believe, today against this Lakers team. If it remains close, and that's a big if. If it remains close, 6,400 too cheap. Same thing for Middleton as his price drops. I thought he was too expensive in the 7K range. I have more interest now at 6,700. Curry is the only real Warrior I have interest in here. I don't really ever get around to Durant. Clay is just too expensive. I know he's been playing great, but 7,300 is too expensive, especially when there's guys like Trae Young at 7,200, who is a point guard who should see just as many minutes but way more usage. Draymond's going to see 34 to 38 minutes in this game, probably around 35, 36. But he's been under a point per minute, and when Cousins is out, it doesn't really bump him that much. So Steph's the only guy I'm interested in. Myles Turner, if I had to have a piece of this Clippers-Indiana game, it'd be by far and away probably Myles Turner, my number one in that game. Then maybe a little Thad Young, Lou Williams, Watermans. Turner 6,200, still probably $500 underpriced, honestly. Just came off an incredible game, back-to-back. Keep up on any news about that. If players will be rested, I don't expect Turner to. For Sacramento, I like Willie Cauley-Stein today at 5,300, but again, Harry Giles is cutting into his minutes, so it's a little bit of a concern. I like him mainly because of, one, the price, 5,300, and two, he's going up against the likes of Jared Allen today and this Brooklyn team that can't rebound. Let's look at Cauley-Stein's minutes. I just want to quickly verify. Yeah, look at this. So, I mean, he was getting consistent minutes. Harry Giles went off in the last game, and it turned into a blowout, so he only got 20. So I'm not going to read too much into that. So I am comfortable with this. Harry Giles is getting his minutes around the 20-minute mark, but we're still getting minutes out of Willie Cauley-Stein. I wouldn't look too much into this 20. They got blown out, or they blew out Chicago, so there's really no need to run him. Let Harry Giles do his thing. But I could feel pretty confident in 27 minutes. I have him projected for 28 today, so I do like that against Brooklyn. 5,300 seems a little bit too cheap for a guy like Willie Cauley-Stein. Marvin Williams, 4,500, also too cheap. Not a guy that I really ever like to play, but he's going to be playing center minutes today against a team that doesn't have Joel Embiid out there. He's going to be playing 32-plus minutes in this game, and he's only 4,500. He automatically is built-in value on this slate. Trae Young, 7,200. This guy's too cheap. He shouldn't be approaching the 7K range, right? I mean, he's a point guard who's going to be seeing 32-plus minutes today. And he's just been balling out. Even at his worst days, he's around the 35-point range, which at 7,200 doesn't bury you. I love Trae Young today. Andrew Wiggins, $5,400. Look, he's been playing terrible. He can't get shots to fall, but his price is just coming down way too far, and regression has to be coming his way. If he just shoots 40% at 5,400, he's going to smash for you. We know that this guy has 50-point upside. We know that he has very realistic 40-point upside every single night. Andrew Wiggins at 5,400. It seems like a very nice play today. He's going to be having either Clay or Durant on him, which doesn't seem great. Maybe even Draymond. So tough matchup all around for Wiggins. If you don't have to get there, fine, but he can fit into 5 spots on DraftKings for you. So I think he's definitely worth looking at. D'Angelo Russell in this paced up high total game against Sacramento. The best spot I want to target against Sacramento is the point guard position. Look, pace up, easier drive rates. Russell's price coming down somewhat, minutes stabilizing around 32, 33. I think I've been projected for 33 today. 7,400 is fine for Russell, especially because he's shooting guard eligible. You can get an extra point guard into your lineups. But yeah, that's it on early interest. Maybe I missed a guy. I was just looking through it quickly today. Here's the target offense sheet up, and I hit my notes. Those are going to pop up. Get out of that. If you haven't yet, hit the like button. Helps me out so much. This video is going to be out a little earlier, potentially reach some new people. If you watched all the way through right now, hit me with a subscribe if you haven't yet. Let me know in the comments down below that you watched the whole thing. It takes 2 seconds. Just say, well, I watched, or I made it, or done, something like that. And I just want to thank you personally. Hit me up on Twitter. Just closing out the housekeeping. Get in the Discord. If you're not in the Discord yet, you got to hop in there. If you like NCAA, people talking about that. I mainly made it, and I did all of this stuff because nobody that I know really likes daily fantasy sports as much as I do in my close friend group or people that I know. So I figured I'd create a community online, and this Discord is exactly that. It's awesome. Head over to Patreon if you want player projections. They're helping out a lot of people. Somebody took down, it was like 10K last night in the Discord, and then there's a Rodney Heel steal correction, and he didn't have Rodney Hood. So it got bumped down. He walked away with like 4,500 or something. Still a great night. So definitely get in there. That's just the knowledge spillover and the skills enhancing just from being in there. You can get those projections over on Patreon too. And then Draft Dashboard, 30 days for $1. It cuts down your research time. It's nice to look at in the beginning of the day just to try and get your biases away. If you like building lineups through an optimizer, they also have that. And if you feel the need to, you can head over to this person's Twitter right here, Chris Towers, C Towers CBS, and just drop a little comment saying, I think Sal Vetri is a nice fit, or Sal Vetri makes YouTube. Whatever you want to do, it's just the more people that he sees the name, it might give me a little bit of a better chance, which allows me to keep doing this content after college as often as I do, if I can be making money on the side and not working at a job for 10 hours a day away from my laptop. So that's it. That's this 6-game slate. Should be a fun one. Hit me up on Twitter if you have any questions. Drop any questions in the comments. My name is Sal. You know how much I appreciate you guys. You already know my name. Peace out.